Hello, hello. It is just about 4 a.m. and I should be sleeping, but I want to do one last thing with the ice-repos contribution that involves the requests that we're making. Now, last video I talked about how the extra request to check if there's anything left is not really needed. Like, technically, we could get the information to know exactly how many requests we need to make, and it's a bit wasteful making that extra request. Um, and if it was just my app and I was making it for myself, I probably would leave that there, leave it as is, because it's not a big deal. But we are touching somebody else's code. It already existed there, and we kind of remove it with our changes. So I'd like to preserve as much of the original code as possible and just kind of stay respectful to kind of how it was before. And there's really no reason to take that code out and make the code worse. We should always try to keep the code at least as good as it was and improve it if we can. So let's go ahead and make that change. It shouldn't be too big of a change, but should be over there. We'll see how it goes, because we do need to just make sure it's working and test it thoroughly. So this is just in the get repos. If we look at, let's see, if we look at the original code, we can just pull that out, I think. So if I remember correctly, it should be in the paginator component. And this is it, the parse last page. So we need this function here. Grab that. And while we're here, let's reorganize this a little bit. Parse last page. I'm going to go ahead and see that. So okay, and then this is link parse. Okay, so there was some additional error handling that was here, so let's keep that too. So this is the link parse error here. We have some additional helper types. This is actually a URL parse error, I believe. Parse int error URL is URL, just like that. Okay. How's that? Okay, that compiles. And then let's look how it was used. Goes and load new page. So the link was response.headers.get link. And then we tried to parse that. So in the page, I think we can get the last page. Let's actually follow these links here. Oh, it looks like this. So page one per page. This parses the last component of the link field in the response headers from code, which tells us how many pages there are. The link field looks like this. page 5. Not quite sure. This part is the last component of the link field and the response headers from GitHub, which tells us how many pages there are. The link field looks like this. What we can actually do is just serve it here. It should still run. Then in our app, once we have an app being served, yeah, we can look at the request being made. So let's look at that network here. So 3 requests are made. This is the first request. So can I zoom in a little more for you? Okay. This is the first request, and the response we have, okay, so each of these responses, that's in the JSON, but I think this is in the headers of the response. Yeah, the response headers, and then the link here per page 30, per page. Oh, okay, so wait, is there 2? Yeah. So this is, we can see what's happening here. We make one request for 30, and this is page 1, and then page 2 has, if we look at the body, response body, it has some, but then when we make the third request for page 3, there's nothing in the response body. It returns okay. So in the first request, if we look at the link here, it has the first page here, and then the last page here at the end. So page 2. So this is the last page we get. And then this is, it's the same thing. So it looks like in the second link, it doesn't actually give us a last. It gives us the previous one. So we only really care about parsing the last field on the first request. So what we're going to do is let's do async do organization and page, and this is actually going to return not a vec. This is going to be actually a whatever the response to this is. I'm sure it will tell us. This is, response. Okay. That actually works. Cool. And then we can actually make this is kind of ridiculous. Let's do like that. x equal, let's take this bit. I just want to make it a little easier to read, but maybe this doesn't make it easier to read, I'm not sure. Does this make it easier to read? So this should be repos that. Let's do this. Actually, multiple formats probably will slow it down, so I think this is fine. That's a little easier to read. This is actually going to be post. Let's do base because it includes one path. It includes the orgs path right here. So this is just kind of an easy way to format a little bit. Okay, that's a little easier to read, but we got a request coming out. Now for load page, we're going to do get that stuff. And then like that. Actually, this should be parse info, and we instead just give it the response. Can I do a reference to response like that? And then response dot JSON. Wait. What was it? Like that. And honestly, let's see. This actually doesn't need to be a helper function anymore. Okay, here we go. I mean, let's just leave it as a helper function for now. Okay, and then, so the first page, okay. So first we perform get list. This should be get repos, and this should be parse repos. So this is the get, and then we do the parse in a separate step, because up here we need to, before we parse the repos, we need to handle the response link. So up here, before we do anything, really, we want to perform one get. So we also want to have some unwrapping done. Some propagation, some proper error propagation. Here's what we'll do. We're going to create a separate task, and that's going to create, actually, we should just copy paste this. So copy, going down here, local organization task, and here, this will be an async function that returns a result. And that way, so we remove here, oops, like that. In this way we can propagate errors. So let response is equal to get repos organization, and that's the first page. Now the link is going to be the response dot link. Oops. How do we do it over here again? Oops, not mean to do that. Headers dot get link. I see. Headers dot get link. So we have the link. So now we want to do. I want to do the parse last page thing. So the last page is going to be last page is equal to. So what happens when there's only one page though? I think what we can do here is match link. If it's none, well, if it's some, I like doing some first, but if it's none, we can set the link max page to 1. And total pages. Let's call it total pages because that's kind of the same thing, but a little better. So let's actually do this dot map. So link parse last page link as okay. Can I do this? Fine. I'll just do that like that. So this should now be an option or a result of an option. What? Okay, what are we doing here? It returns a result of an option. So last entry so if it returns okay, none, it was able to parse, but it's missing on the last page. And if the link doesn't exist, so what we're going to do in here is dot transpose. And what this does is it turns the result of an option into an option of a result. And what that lets us do is now we have a nested options on this type. And then I think we can turn this into an and then here. So now it's an option of a result. And then we can do another transpose out here and use a question mark. So now we have an option of a U size. And then we're going to have to do .map error into format. That. That's it's a little weird. Okay. What's going on here? What's going on here? I think I'm going to leave that for a second and work on this. So this is going to be total pages. I think this is going to be slightly better, and then this is going to be dot unwrap 4 1. And let's comment on this. And I just want to see what the problem is here. Oh, and we need to return okay. So what's going on here? Five. So we need to map this error. So total pages is a result of an option. Oops. So we need to transpose it I see. So the error type is not wrapped in format. Just do. We'll just do format. Like that, and then the debug of the error. And then error parsing last page from link. Like that. Okay, cool. Now we can uncomment the rest of this stuff and finish it up. So we have the total pages. Mute page. Page, that's one. This can be page. Page. Okay, and then we do while current page is less than or equal to total pages. We do this bit here. And now we have one small change. We made this first response. And made the first request here. So we need to get the list. We need to update the list real fast. So what we can do, just like so we can see it right away. So what we need to do is like run this part. And since we're doing it twice in two different places, let's write a helper method. So let's do set repos, and it's going to take repos, which is going to be a rec of repository info, and it's going to take the dispatch to the organization, and it's going to do this bit right here. Let's actually yank it because I want to keep those stocks there as well. So that's what it's going to do. Looks good. So now this can be like that. Something like that. And then it should be something like actually append repos. This is also going to be like this. Now we need to do this for this response. So append repos. And actually we can do a reference here. So this is going to be clone, this is a reference. I think if we just take this here and then let response is equal to get repos like that. Does that work? And then, oh yeah, and then up here, we actually remove all of this and just do if let, this is going to be if let error is equal to load organization task with organization and dispatch. And then what was so websys console log 1. That wait. Perfect. Okay, so let's just double check our logic. Our current page is 1. We get the repos. We parse the last page, or the last page. I guess last page. So the reason I'm not a huge fan of last page is it could mean the page at the end of the sequence or the page before this one, like the last one that happened. The last one that happened versus the one at the end, which is a little confusing to me, but I guess in this context, I think we're okay. So we get the headers, we get the link. If the link is there, then we parse the last page from the link. We do a couple transposes to get it to work, and this returns a result of an option. And this returns an option. So yeah, we'll do a little bit of fancy transposing, and then if it is an error, we turn it into the correct error message, kind of map the error type, and then we unwrap. So if that fails, if parsing the link fails for any reason, if we get none, or if it returns an error, it actually exits because we expect it to succeed. And if it doesn't succeed, that's a problem, and we need to address it. The programmer needs to address it. And then if that all goes well, then we append. We try to parse the repos and we append it to state. We increment the page by 1, so this is now on page 2. And if there's 2 pages, this was once, and then it runs another time for every page. I think this is completely fine and looks good. So let's test it. I think we're ready to test. So now in our requests, we should see, what does that error code mean? Not modified? Oh, so it's like the same. We should see that we make only 2 requests now, and that does seem to be the case. We only make 2 requests instead of the 3 we were making before, 1 and 2, and we do seem to be parsing correctly, so that's really nice. And we get the max number of pages per request, so that's good. Cool. Very cool. And we do seem to be getting everything. If I remember correctly, yep, that is the last one we see usually. So yeah, I think we did it. We have that done. Okay. So pretty simple. Looks good. I think this looks a little better, right there. Like that. Parse append. That works. Then we get the link last page. Update the current page, and then yeah. Yeah. I do like that. I do like that. Cool. That looks good. So cool. This is exactly what we were looking for. We kept the existing functionality intact, or we re-added it so it remains intact as we make our changes. Cool. Let's commit this. Um, do. Events. The extra request that happens. That was happening. Which checked the end of loading and organization. It was initially moved simplicity, but we added because uh, simply better. Better, it's more efficient. Because we waste no cycles here. Cool. I'm happy with that. I'm really happy with that. Only two. There we go. That's a third. That's 1/3 of the wasted cycles now. That's nice. That is nice. Okay. I'm trying to think. There might have been one other thing I was thinking of doing. I can't really remember what it was, so it must not be that important. But if it is, we might have another video going back for it. But I think we're in now a good spot. It was just that last little code that we removed that was kind of bugging me. Like, why go in and just make the code actually like functionally worse and less efficient if we already have the code written, and it's honestly not a lot of work to keep it around. I think I just removed it because it was like simpler to think about initially, and the control flow was simpler. So yeah, it's how, if I was doing it from the ground up, it's probably how I would have left it. Just because it practically isn't really super important, but yeah, respect the code you're touching for sure. I think that's it for now. Like I said, I might make another video on this, I might not, we'll see. But I think we're gonna get in a good spot. I'm pretty pleased with how we're gonna leave it, and hopefully this is gonna be useful to somebody in the future. Anyway, I'm gonna get some much needed rest. Thank you for watching, and have a good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and so on.